I'm super excited to support you today. So today we are talking about NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. What is it and how can it help me? So I'm going to be using our manuals. I'm going to be using our manuals. So this is a copy of a manual that we use within our training. And as you can see, it's a proof version. It's got a big banner across the front. But these are the manuals that we send out to our clients, our students, when they take our NLP training. So I'm just going to use this to refer to answering this question for you. So as always, I'm Rebecca Lockwood, your Neuro-Linguistic Programming Trainer, Hypnosis Trainer and Breakthrough Coach Trainer. And today we're talking about what is NLP? What is NLP and how can it help me? What is NLP and how can it help me? So I am really excited to talk to you about this subject because sometimes it's really easy, because I live, eat, breathe NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. It's really easy to forget that sometimes people don't know what NLP is, and not everybody does, you know. It is becoming a lot wider and a lot more well known within the community and within people who may not be in coaching, but still not everybody knows what NLP is. So today I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into what is NLP. I'm going to give you the technical versions out of my book. So I'm going to be talking to you about the full proper by the book NLP, and then I'm also going to talk to you about how I use NLP in my life and how I've used it and our students have used it within their practices and within my life and my business. So if we're using the book then, and I'll talk to you about this, what is NLP? So neuro is the nervous system, the mind, our human experience, how external information is taken and processed via our five senses. So visual, which is what we can see, auditory, which is what we can hear, kinesthetic, what we can feel, olfactory and gustatory, which is what we can smell and what we can taste. We then create our first internal map of the external world, right? So everything that happens in our world, everything that happens around us, we process that through our senses, and that creates our internal map of the world. Then linguistic. So linguistic says here in my book, language and other non-verbal communication systems used to code and recode, order and give meaning to our internal neural representations, which includes internal pictures, sounds, feelings, tastes and smells, creating a linguistic map of our everyday conscious awareness. We've then got programming, and I'm going to break this down even further, don't worry. We've got programming, the behavioural response that happens as a result of the neurological filtering processes and linguistic map. So in other words, NLP explains the fundamental dynamics between mind and language and how their interaction affects our body and behaviour, the study of our subjective experience. So I like to say NLP is like common sense on steroids because as I've experienced myself and as our students go through our NLP trainings, they all say the same thing. Like, I use a lot of this already. A lot of this stuff we already use, but we're just not necessarily aware of it. And we're not utilizing it to the best of our abilities, okay? So it is really like common sense on steroids. That's my definition. So the guys who created neuro-linguistic programming to begin with, although it is built upon and used and really utilized as time goes on. So there are other people who have adapted it, and we adapt it in our NLP school, and I wouldn't say we've changed things, but we've improved some things in our NLP school to really utilize it within our niche. So within female entrepreneurial women, there may be some slight adaptations that I've made in my NLP school to support our students and myself. So John Grinder and Richard Bandler are the two guys who co-created NLP back in the 1970s. And John Grinder says NLP is the science of personal excellence. And Richard would say it's an attitude and a methodology that leaves behind a trail of techniques. Okay? So basically, like I said, NLP is like common sense on steroids. It is like a mindset. So I had an email this morning from someone asking me if I could explain mindset in more detail. Like, tell me more about what mindset means and how we can change our mindset. So NLP really is the tool that you can utilize to support you to change your mindset if you want to, change your behaviors, change any negative behaviors or habits that may be showing up for you in your life. But one thing that's really important to remember is that we don't always want to change things, right? So a lot of the things that I talk about with my students, and I have to remember for myself, is that it's only a problem if you perceive it to be a problem. It's not my job to tell you you've got a problem. It's for you to decide if you've got a problem, and then you can change that problem to a more positive resource. Now, what I mean by this, to give you a really simple example, is when I first ever trained in NLP, I worked with a woman, one of my clients, who had a habit that she disliked, right? And this habit was going to the cupboard when she got home and eating chocolate chip cookies. She was taking out a full packet of chocolate chip cookies and she was eating them all in one sitting, and she was doing it every day. And to her, she felt like that was a negative behavior and it was her presenting problem. Now, I might eat a full packet of chocolate chip cookies, but I might not think it's a problem, right? It might not have a problem in my life, in my model of the world. So it's not for me to tell somebody that they have a problem. It's for them to identify in themselves if they feel like they have a problem, and then we can work on that problem, right? It has to be a presenting problem for them, and it's not for me to impose my model of the world onto them and tell them that they've got a problem, right? So let's have a look at the kind of things that I've used NLP for. So obviously my full business is built around training people, female entrepreneurial women. Now, when I say entrepreneurial women, I don't necessarily mean a woman who's got a business. We have a lot of students who are teachers, who are nurses, who work with carers, who do lots of different things, work with teenagers, and we have a lot of coaches, and we have a lot of people who may work in HR or have high-level careers. Now, an entrepreneurial woman doesn't necessarily have a business. She's just very entrepreneurial. She's very driven. She's very much of a go-getter, and she knows that she can achieve her success. She just is wanting to unlock something to support her to achieve that success, right? So not all of our students are business owners, and that's quite a common question that we get. Do I have to have a business to train in NLP and breakthrough coaching with you? And the answer is no. A lot of our students are teachers and do a lot of other things as well. It's entrepreneurial women, and not all entrepreneurial women have a business, okay? So when it comes to using NLP then, like I said, my whole business is built around NLP and training and supporting people in NLP. And the reason why that happened is by accident. It was a complete accident because I was a career-driven person and very entrepreneurial, and I had a business. I also had a really successful sales career. Now, I actually looked for training in NLP to support my sales career and support my sales staff because I had a team of salespeople and I wanted some training to really support them to take their sales to the next level. And that's how I stumbled across NLP. When I trained in NLP, I had this massive light bulb moment that was said. It was like, oh my God, this is so powerful. I have to help as many other women as possible achieve and go through this and know about this. Because what I realized is, although at the time I was in a sales career, before that I had a really successful business. And I closed the business down, and I identified it was due to self-sabotage because I didn't believe I was worthy of having the success that I had achieved. My business had been invited to go on Dragon's Den. I was on the biggest growth accelerator in the world. I was winning business awards. I was getting great media coverage in really well-known places. I was in newspapers all the time. I'd been on TV. I'd even auditioned to be on The Apprentice and got quite far in that. And things on the outside were going amazing. And it came to a point where I just said, I don't want any of this. And I closed the business down. And I realized through training in NLP that it was due to self-sabotage, because underlying I had a limited belief of not feeling good enough to achieve the success that I'd created and to achieve even further success. And at that point I was like, oh my gosh, how many other women must do this and not realize it? And it was at that point that I knew that I had to support as many other women as possible to learn about NLP and how they can utilize NLP in their lives and their business as well. So a couple of things then, to give you some real examples of how I've used NLP with our students and how our students use NLP, is I've wrote a list of them here, so I've got some really good juicy ones to share with you, is to have more self-belief. So I gave the example there that I had some massive limiting beliefs of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, having had a massive negative money beliefs as well. And so NLP really supports you to help change them limiting beliefs, change any limitations, any negative self-beliefs, and help you have more confidence to be able to push through to the next level of success, whether that's in your business, in your life, in your career, in your relationship, with the relationships that you have with your children. It really supports you to communicate better with yourself and then communicate better with other people as well. It really supports you to unlock your potential. So it's really about unlocking what you think is possible for you now and opening up your view of what's possible to being much broader and much wider. So you're open to achieving and open to receiving, right? So we may talk a lot about law of attraction and manifestation, and not in a spiritual woo-woo way, but in a science fact-based way of how NLP supports you to create new neural networks in your brain, which create new behaviors, which create more positive and more confidence. And also when you get really clear on this stuff, it's fascinating, because you learn about how our brains are wired to notice more possibilities and to attract them possibilities to you, because you act upon the things that you notice that you wouldn't have noticed earlier. It's incredible. So it also helps you to understand yourself better, and it helps you to self-coach and really utilize your strengths, really understand what are your strengths and how can you build upon them to achieve the things that you really want to achieve. It also helps you stop bad habits. So I gave the example of the chocolate chip cookies. It can also help with alcohol, drinking alcohol. We've done lots of things where our students have wanted to stop drinking red wine or Prosecco or coffee or tea and things like this. And that's been really powerful. But also things like smoking as well, or even drugs and alcohol abuse. It helps. We've had students and clients as well who may have been trying to conceive, and there's been some limitations there around their beliefs and their mindsets around having children. And so we've used NLP to really support, again, for them to step back and see a wider view of what's possible. And also with money mindset. So I've alluded to money mindset a little bit. Like, I had a really negative money mindset before I did NLP, and we've had so many money coaches, money mindset coaches, and people who work with money with their students and their clients, who have come on our courses and learned how to really support their students and their clients to overcome money blocks, overcome money beliefs, and really support them in their sales as well. So it really is endless. Like, the possibilities of how you can use NLP in your life go on and on and on and on. It's really specific to each individual, because you can utilize it for anything in your business or your life. It's just about really understanding and pinpointing where are the points that you want to use it in your business and life, and how can you apply it to them places. So that's it from me. If you've got any questions about NLP and our NLP training, please do reach out with any questions or any comments. There is a link above to our courses and in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast. So if you've got any questions, do reach out. As always, I'm Rebecca Lockwood, your Neuro-Linguistic Programming Trainer, Hypnosis Trainer, and Breakthrough Coach Trainer. And if you've got any questions, you know where to find me. Have an amazing week, and I'll catch up with you next week.